Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about pinyin and tones. Take a look at these two images. You'll notice that they're both full of Chinese writing. However, there is one key difference. Can you spot it? I bet you have. It is the letters, the English letters, above the characters on the left, whereas the characters on the right do not have any. The characters on the left have what is called pinyin above them. It is something that is a helpful tool to learning Mandarin, as well as something that people will use for typing. However, we have to get used to reading just characters eventually, but it does also help our pronunciation, so we're going to go over it a little bit more. First, what is pinyin? So pinyin is the romanized, that means it's written in the Roman alphabet, which is what we use for English, pronunciation system for Mandarin. So we can see it written in a couple places here. We see pinyin written out in pinyin there, and we see 我 written in pinyin there. 我 意思就是 I or me. Why do we need pinyin if we're going to be writing in characters anyway? Well, there are a couple of reasons. First, if you need to type in Chinese, you're going to have to learn pinyin. That's very important. Next, it'll help you sound out how characters sound. Since we can't really do that like we can in English, there are some ways to do it, but it's one of those things where you actually have to have a pretty high level of Mandarin before it becomes something that you can rely on. And then, of course, native speakers will use it when they're teaching their children as well. So here we have some examples. On our left, we have the characters, so that character is 我. In the middle, we have 我, the romanized pronunciation called pinyin, and on the right, we have the meaning. Same thing for the second line. We have two characters which are both pronounced ta, that means he or she. And then our last one, we have the character ni, pronounced as ni, in the middle with our pinyin, and then that is the English you. So in pinyin, we do have an alphabet as well. We will arrange it usually like this. You'll notice that there's some that are multiple letters together. That's because it's based on the sound and not just on the letter order like in English. What we have on the left here are called 声母, which we call initials. You'll notice that they're all consonants or a consonant cluster. We do actually have two vowels that we just write in the initial spot. They're called initials because they go at the beginning of the word. On the right side, you see we have other things. It's almost all vowels, or they start with a vowel. These are called 韵母, or finals. We're going to go over each of those together, try to repeat them after me. First we'll start with our 声母, our initials. So we have 波, 坡, 摸, 佛, 的, 特, 呢, 了, 个, 可, 和, 鸡, 七, 西, 知, 吃, 诗, 日, 子, 次, 思, 一, wu. Right, there are a couple that I think are worth going over in a little bit more detail. So first, if you look at ji, qi, xi, you'll notice that each of these sounds almost a little similar to zhi, chi, shi. The difference is the positioning of the tongue. For ji, qi, xi, your tongue is at the bottom of your mouth, touching your bottom row of teeth. Whereas for zhi, chi, shi, and zhi as well, your tongue is actually curled up, so the flat of your tongue is pushing up towards the roof of your mouth. Another couple that are worth mentioning are zi and ci. You'll notice those have a little bit of a different sound than we pronounce those words or those letters in English. Zi sounds like the Z in pizza, so you can think of it as a DZ sound, whereas ci sounds like ci. It's kind of like the ending sound in cats, or if you're beatboxing, you'll like that. That is the ci sound. I and u are actually identical to two of our 韵母over here, I and u. We just write them with this at the beginning of a sound, the beginning of a syllable. Let's move on to our 韵母. Again, we can just pronounce them after me. You'll notice we have our simple 韵母, and then you have more complex ones below. Some of them have more unique pronunciations or writing styles, which we have listed down here. We'll go over that in a little bit more detail in a future video, but not in this one. We have, repeat after me, a, o, I, U, Yu. We're going to pause real quick right there. Yu, you'll notice, is a little bit of a tricky sound if you don't speak French, German, Mandarin, or a number of other languages that have this sound. It is almost in between an E and an U sound. So you have a rounded mouth, but the mouth shape is as if you're going to say E. So if you take E and then you narrow your lips to U without changing anything else, you get E, and there you have your U sound. Next we have I, A, Wei, Ao, O, Yo, Ye, Yue, R, An, In, Wen, Yun, Ying, Ong. There are a couple of other sounds that is important to note. So for example, UI is actually hiding an E in between. So it says Wei, which you'd think is spelled U-E-I. However, in this context, it is spelled simply U-I. Also, you'll notice here, I-U is hiding an extra O in between the I and the U. So that's why it says yo instead of you, yo. So it's just hiding that there. It's a good thing to be aware of. Lastly, you'll notice that UN is pronounced wen. It is also hiding an E in between the U and the N, which is not written out in this context. We will actually take a look at our full thing here later. Not anything to worry about right now. We'll deal with those when we get to them. The other part of Mandarin that I mentioned in the previous video that is a little bit difficult is, in addition to having all of these letters in our alphabet, we also have something called shengdiao, which are tones. We have 4 tones and then 1 neutral tone, which has a different sound depending on the context and is also outside the scope of this video. Our first tone is high and flat. I'll practice each of these with an ah. You can feel free to repeat after me. So this one sounds like ah. It's just high and flat. Our second tone starts in the middle and then goes up to around where the first tone is. It will sound like ah. Our third tone goes low and then, starts low, goes lower, and then can go back up. Oftentimes in regular speech, if people are not emphasizing things, however, it will just start low and then go a bit lower and kind of flatten out there. So if I'm emphasizing it, it'll sound like ah. But if I'm just speaking how I might normally speak, I might just say ah. Lastly, our fourth tone starts high and then goes low, and so it sounds like ah. All right, now tones can differentiate word meanings. So for example, hua means flower, but hua with the fourth tone means to draw or to paint. Another example, 睡觉 means to sleep, whereas 水饺 means dumplings. So if you're telling someone 我要睡觉 or 我要水饺, I want to sleep or I want dumplings, we got to be careful which one you're asking for. Lastly, why don't we finish up with a quick tongue twister. So this sentence means mom is riding a horse, the horse is slow, so mom scolds the horse. But you notice there are 3 different pronunciations of ma, not including the neutral tone at the end here, ma. So the full thing goes ma ma qi ma, ma ma, ma 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 ma. Why don't we take that one part at a time? So let's repeat after me. Ma ma qi ma, ma ma, ma 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 ma. All right, why don't you try the whole thing yourself as well? I'll catch you next time.